Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to present a summary of the most important points that you need to cover and be ready with for the final exam of English in term 3 for the year 23-24. And this video will be most useful for students of 10 Advanced, 10 Elite, 12 General, and 12 Applied. Before I start, I would like to say something very important, which is that the PowerPoint I'm using right now is my own work. It is not the official PowerPoint that is released by the ministry, because later there will be another one. They call it the Support Grammar PowerPoint. This one will be released later. I would like you, once that one is released, please make sure you read it carefully, because you may have very similar expressions in the final exams and the final exam of English. But I assure you, I did my best with my own PowerPoint to make sure it covers all the points mentioned in the assessment planner, which you will be tested in your final exam, inshallah. As for the structure of the final exam, it has been confirmed today that there will be some changes in the reading part. Of course, the time will stay the same, but the number of the questions will be reduced. It was 36 questions overall in term 2, but now it's going to be 30 only. You can see here that in the first maze, which covers the basic grammar, is instead of 5, we're going to have 4 questions. Each question will be worth 2 marks, so the total will be 8. And the second part, originally it was 10. Now it's going to be reduced to 8, 2 marks for each. And part 7, where previously 6, it's going to be reduced to 5. And the next one from 11 to 10 now. And the last part, instead of having 4 questions, it's going to be 3 questions only now. So I think this is good news, because it will save us some time while we're dealing with the reading text. And the distribution of the marks will stay the same as usual, 40 for the writing and 60 for the reading. The time will be the same, 1 hour and a half for writing and 1 hour for reading. But one sure thing is that we know for your classes, you are going to have 3 themes to be covered in your final exam: environment, technology, and jobs. This means that these 3 themes will be there in the reading texts, also in the writing. 2 of them can appear in the writing, or even the 3 of them somehow, they can be merged in the writing. And we do have some of the vocabulary items that will appear for sure in your exam, maybe in the reading or in the writing. So because so many people asked me for reading texts, they wanted like some practice tests to to be ready for the final exam. Actually, there are so many websites that you can practice reading in general. You can use the IMSAT previous texts in order to answer some reading texts. This is going to be fine. The British Council, for example, and I have some of these in my Telegram group if you're there. But you have to be careful that those will not cover the same topics and will not look exactly like your final exam, because your final exam will be, especially if for your grades, all the readings will be narrative texts, which is very difficult to find in other websites. So I thought of an idea that you might do in order to use the vocabulary in a good way, which is you can actually use any artificial intelligence app, or like, for example, ChatGPT or something. The one you can see right now, I actually used ChatGPT for this. You can take the list of words in one of the topics. For example, I took the list of the environment and I put it in ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to create a list of words, or to take the words to create meaningful sentences. I asked the artificial intelligence also to highlight the words and include Arabic translation. It's optional if you want Arabic translation or not. So if you put the list of words, you'll find something like this. This is what came up for me. I have some sentences using the same vocabulary that I'm supposed to be tested in, and I have the Arabic translation mentioned. It might not be the best translation, but it can still give you a clue about how the words are used, and it will give you a good insight about the meanings of the words. What is also good about this exercise is that can give you other words in the same area. Like while they're writing the sentences, you might also get extra words in the same field, which is environment here. What is even better, you can even ask artificial intelligence to create a narrative text for you. A narrative text means a story. I did this specifically because I know that your final exam will include a narrative text. Actually, more than one narrative text. It will be two of them, two narrative texts. The main reading text will be like this. So you can use the same words to create a narrative text. You can simply read it just to familiarize yourself with the new words and get an idea or many ideas about the same topic. Or what is even better and better, you can ask ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence you're using to create questions based on the text or based on the story. So here is what came up with me. I have some questions. You can even like ask for a specific number of choices. It's up to you. And you can also ask for the answers to be mentioned at the end. Here you can see that I asked for the answers to be included separately at the end because I didn't want the answers to be right under the questions. Why? Because when you read the text, you can actually read and then look at the questions to try to practice and test yourself to see if you're able to answer the questions, which is a good practice of reading. And then finally, you can go back to check your answers. To be honest, like the questions are not the best thing. Some of them are too easy, in my opinion, but it's still something that you can start with in order to practice, right? If you have any other ideas about this or you have any other websites that might be good, please share this in the comment section. Okay, now we can go to the grammar and functional language, which is the main focus of today's PowerPoint. Let's start with the grammar. This is all the grammar that you're supposed to study for the final exam. Usually you'll have this, the prerequisite grammar, which is something you have to start with in order to go to the main thing, which is this column. But we have to cover both of them just in case the first one I think may appear in the first maze. So let's start with the prerequisite grammar. Okay, these are the topics that we are supposed to cover. Some of them you already studied in term 1 or 2. Some of them you studied in term 2 as well. And as I said before, they may or may not appear in the first maze. And some of them might help you to answer other questions that will come in the second maze. So the first one is the past perfect, okay, which is something like this. Look at this sentence. By the time Ali arrived at the airport, the plane had departed. Usually the past perfect is used in order to compare two events. Both happened in the past, but one of them happened earlier. One of them happened before the other. And it's important for me to show you that one of them happened before the other. So when I say by the time, yani before the time Ali arrived at the airport, the plane had departed. Which one happened first? This one had departed. You can see here that the structure is had plus past participle. Had departed at the first event, the first thing that happened, okay? And then Ali arrived. Why is this important? Had departed means had left. رحلت الطائرة, okay? And then he arrived, okay? What is the important piece of information to be delivered here? It's that Ali did not catch the plane because it left before he arrived. And that's why in this kind of tense, past perfect, or in Arabic, al-madi at-tam, it is always used with another tense to compare and show you that something happened earlier than the other. And it can never stand alone. Another example is this. Jamal didn't go to the cinema because he had seen the movie many times. So what happened first is the one that has the auxiliary had plus past participle had seen is number one, and then didn't go is number two. Usually when you study grammar, try to imagine a situation because we need you to understand how the grammar is used. The meaning of the grammar is very important. So let's imagine a situation where Jamal may be with a friend or someone. They were walking beside the cinema and they had a chance to go inside and see the movie, but then he refused. Why? Because earlier in the past, he had seen the same movie many times, so there was no need for him to go inside the cinema and watch the movie again. Okay, so he had seen the movie many times before. كان قد رأى الفيلم, so he didn't want to go to the cinema. لذلك لم يذهب للسينما. It makes sense, right? Okay, another topic is the subordinating conjunctions. Here I'm using the can-do statements in the assessment planner. Can link clauses and sentences with a range of basic connectors, but it seems that the focus will be on the subordinating conjunctions. Those are conjunctions that link two clauses together, okay? One of them depends on the other. So for example, like this one, after I finish my coffee, I will wash the dishes. This one is the subordinate clause because it depends on the other one. And then you have the main clause, which is I'll wash the dishes. After بعد, even though, على الرغم من ذلك, whereas, بينما, because, even because is one of them. If all of these, we call them subordinating conjunctions, which are like some connectors to link two sentences together. So what you can do, because this area is very broad, it's very big, what you can do is try to revise the ones that you can see on the screen right now. And if you have any problem, what you can do is you will go to this link. Of course, I will give you this PowerPoint, inshallah. So what you can do is that click on this link. This is a link shared by the Ministry of Education, and it's a wonderful website, in my opinion. If you click there, you will find activities related to the same lesson. You can even have like something they call the grammar reference, download it and study, okay? And if you have any questions, I will be happy to receive them, of course. Fine. Then this topic we studied in term 2, if I remember correctly, yes, which is nominalization. This means you can form a range of nouns from adjectives and verbs with common suffixes. I'm not going to talk much about this one because I think it's easy and we studied it already. The idea of like knowing this is a noun from the suffix or the group of letters that come at the end. When I say the exploration of space, ارتياد الفضاء, is expensive but very exciting, not to mention the beauty. So the exploration is a noun. It comes from the verb explore, okay? How do I know it's a noun? From the suffix shen, exploration. And from, also I have the word beauty, it comes from beautiful. So usually nominalization is turning verbs or adjectives into nouns or noun phrases by using suffixes such as meant or ans or ation or ist or isn't, many of them, okay? So all you have to do when you're answering the maze, make sure if the word you're supposed to choose is a noun or verb or an adjective, and from the suffix you can tell, or you may already know the word, so no need to think about it. Usually nominalization will be very good if you're writing in a formal context, like in a final exam. It's way better to use the noun than the verb. For example, if you want to explain something in the introduction, for example, and you want to say, I will explain this and this, it is much better to say, I will provide an explanation of this. This will sound more formal and it will give you a better mark, okay? Another topic, which is the use of imperatives, أفعال الأمر, and future will, okay? So the first one is can use verbs in the imperative, very, very easy, okay? Imperative, فعل الأمر, bring a glass of water, don't ever touch my phone. I think it's so easy. And the other one is the use of will, or apostrophe IL, plus infinitive for spontaneous decisions and offers. I will go to school tomorrow. Spontaneous يعني تلقائي. It means like I didn't plan for this before. It's just like it's something that happens right now while I'm talking. I thought about this, so I will do it. I will go to school tomorrow. I won't leave my house, which means I will not leave my house. Just be careful that will is usually followed by an infinitive. So I cannot say will going, for example, or will went. Will is usually followed by the infinitive of the verb. Okay. And again, if you have any problem, you can go to this website. Now, the next one is they mentioned the first, second, and third conditionals. And honestly, if I start doing this, it will take a very, very long time. So actually, you know that I had a recorded video of all of this. You will find it. I will send you the link here. It's here in the PowerPoint, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. There are two parts of this video. The first one includes an explanation of all the three types of conditionals and also the mixed ones, because sometimes you mix two types. You'll find an explanation of this. And in the second part, you will have many exercises related to this area. Okay, then the last one about the prerequisite grammar is the linking words for sequencing events. And I think this one is again very, very easy. It's just being able to use a range of common linking words to sequence events. Sequence events يعني لتتابع الأحداث. تتابع يعني words like before, قبل, after, بعد, first, secondly, third, أولا, ثانيا, ثالثا. This is what we mean when we say sequencing, okay? In my opinion, most of you should know this already. If you have any problem, again, you can use the website I put in on the slide here. Just click on the link and you can try to practice. They will give you some activities and a summary of the lesson, which will be very useful, inshallah. Okay, now we go to the main grammar, which is, this is your curriculum. This is what you're supposed to be tested in, and for sure it will appear in Maze 1. As I said, the previous ones may appear in Maze 1 or anywhere in the whole exam, in the reading and everywhere. But this one is the one that you need to focus on the most. We have topics like future perfect, as long as provided that we studied this before in term 2, I guess, or 1. Complex comparisons, as if, as though, would rather, it's time. Past perfect, passive this time, not the past perfect, but just past perfect, passive. We'll take one by one and explain them, inshallah. The future perfect tense. It means when I'm talking about something that will happen in the future, like this. Let's imagine we have these different times. Let's say now you are a student. Let's say in 2028 you will get married. In 2032 you will have children, inshallah. Then we need you to leave all of this and imagine that you are going to travel into the future. So it's now 2024. If you travel to the future, to this year, imagine that if you look back, what will you have accomplished? Okay, this is the whole idea of the future perfect tense. So let me show you the example for this to make it clearer. What will your life, if somebody asked you, what will your life be like in 2035? And this is a point in the future. It's still too early now, right? Well, I will have gotten married by, يعني before 2035. I will have had children too. Why? Because if you look at these events, they are before this year. So I'm imagining that I will jump to the future, to this year. If I travel to this year and I look back, for sure these will be completed. I will have gotten married. أكيد بكون اتزوجت قبل 2035. بالتأكيد. For sure this will be completed. I will have had children too. كمان هكون عندي أطفال. For sure. Why? Because I will have them in 2032. You see? So usually this tense, future perfect, اللي هو المستقبل التام, is used to express something that will happen before a specific point in the future or a specific time in the future. Okay? Now, if I want to explain this more, we just need to see the difference between when I say in 2028 I will get married, and in 2032 I will have children. What is the difference? Now, if you have the year in 2028, I know we're talking from the point of now. And I say, inshallah, in 2028, I will get married. You will get married in this specific year, right? Okay. And you will have children in this specific year, which is 2032. This is the exact date where you will have your children and where you will get married. But if you're talking about 2035, it means before that, all of this will have been completed. Yani it might be any time before 2035. So by 2035, I will have gotten married and I will have had children, because it will happen before this future date. Okay. I hope this is clear. Let me give you more examples, and I'm using these examples from previous PowerPoints in previous years that were released by the Ministry of Education. Will you have finished your science project by tomorrow? Tomorrow is the future point. يعني هل سوف تكون أنهيت مشروع العلوم قبل بكرة? This means it should have been finished before tomorrow. يعني maybe you will finish it today. The last minute of today, let's say at 12 in the evening, for example, okay? But before tomorrow, if tomorrow comes, it should be finished, right? Okay. Yes, I will have done it by the time the lesson starts. Notice here, in the first sentence, we have by and then a specific day, tomorrow or after tomorrow or something. Here, I have by and then a specific point in the future, which is represented as a certain event in the future. يعني أكيد بكون أنهيته قبل أن يبدأ الدرس, which is a point in the future. The same thing. Okay. Usually the formation is the subject, الفاعل, plus will, plus or won't, because it can be the negative, will not, plus have, plus past participle, plus complement, اللي هي تكملة الجملة. Okay. More examples. I will have already eaten by the time they arrive. Already, it can also be another word that may give me an indication it's the future perfect tense, or give me the feeling of a perfect tense. I will have already eaten يعني هكون بالفعل أكلت قبل الوقت اللي هيوصلوا فيه, by the time they arrive, أو قبل أن يصلوا. We will have traveled 20,000 kilometers in 2 months' time. This is also another expression which may be an indication of the future perfect tense. يعني في خلال شهرين هكون أنا سافرت مسافة أو قطعت مسافة 20,000 كيلومتر في خلال شهرين. It means before the 2-month time is finished, this will be accomplished for sure. Okay. Many animals won't have survived the next major heat. Won't means will not. يعني لن يكونوا أو يعني سوف يكونوا ماتوا أو هلكوا قبل موجة الحر القادمة. Okay. Now another topic, which is subordinating conjunctions, but يعني it's a good thing that here in this part they're specifying which subordinating conjunctions they want us to focus on. In the previous one, when we talked about the subordinating conjunctions, they were it was a broad area. Everything can be there. But here, they mentioned specifically what types we need to focus on. As we said before, subordinating conjunctions are usually words used to join two clauses, يعني جملتين, together in a complex sentence. They show the relationship between the two clauses together in a complex sentence. They show the relationship between the two clauses. Okay. The specific words we have to focus on are as long as, provided that, on the condition that. As long as يعني طالما, provided that بشرط, on the condition that, also بشرط أن. Okay. So we just need to be familiar with them, because for sure you will see in the exam, you'll see sentences using these specific words. So let's start with examples for provided that or providing that. Both are correct. okay. You will finish the work by the deadline. هتخلص شغلك قبل الديدلاين، قبل المهلة. provided that، بشرط إنه تركز على كل مهمة. provided that you concentrate on each task. Be careful how to use the expression. Okay, so provided that I need a full sentence after this, which will give me the condition. تعطيني الشرط. He might become famous providing that lots of people buy his music. يعني ممكن إنه يصبح مشهور بشرط إنه العديد من الناس يقومون بشراء موسيقى. providing that. Okay. As long as يعني طالما, which is also something that will give me a condition. تعطيني شرط. As long as my old TV works. طالما إنه التلفزيون القديم يعمل. I will not buy a new one. يبقى مش هشتري واحد جديد. The dog won't bite. الكلب لن يقوم بعضك as long as you don't touch it. طالما إنك مش هتلمسه. This is the condition. هو ذا الشرط. On the condition that, another expression also meaning بشرط أن you will get the job on the condition that you will work on Saturday. سوف تحصل على الوظيفة بشرط إنك سوف تعمل يوم السبت. I would have gone to the event on the condition that you had come with me. يعني كان ممكن رحت على الحفل أو الحدث لو أنت كنت جيت معي. Okay. Now we move to another easy topic in my opinion, adjectives, comparatives, اللي هي صفات المقارنة. Here the ministry is focusing on complex comparisons اللي هي المقارنات المركبة يعني between clauses بين الجمل. So let's look at this example. Many people are more focused on improving their own lifestyles than on saving the planet. العديد من الناس يكونوا أكثر تركيزا على تحسين أسلوب حياتهم أكثر من إنقاذ الكوكب. Here what do we have? Clause 1 الجملة الأولى اللي هي many people are focused on or more focused on, and then I have the comparative adjective. Okay. صفة المقارنة اللي هي more focus plus than of course plus another clause الجملة الثانية. Okay. Which is than on saving the planet. These are what we call complex comparisons. One thing you have to be very careful about here, which is يعني notice in the first clause I have on and then a verb ing. Usually if the other clause if another clause is used, then the same structure should be used. يعني I should use on also ing. This might be used as one of the blanks. For example, then they will say something like than, on saving, or to save, or so. Be sure to read the sentence from the beginning to decide what form you're going to use. So usually the two verbs should look the same, right? This is just a very quick revision of the comparative rules of like how to form a comparative adjective. Usually if we have a short sentence, a short adjective like tall. Tall is like one syllable. If you try to clap your hands like this to find the syllable, it will be like this. Tall, one syllable. Short is also one syllable. Whenever we have one syllable and we want to compare or to form a comparative sentence, you will use ER. Tall, taller, أطول من, short, shorter, أقصر من. Of course, you will use than with this. Then also, sometimes you need to double the last letter, like the word big here. يعني you notice here taller, we already have double L, so we don't do anything. T is not doubled here, but why is G doubled here? Because if you look at the last three letters of this word, B-I-G, you'll find that they are like that. Consonant, vowel, consonant, CVC. If this is the form of the word that we have, then you need to double the last letter. It will be bigger, double G. Or you can also think of the pronunciation. If you don't double the last letter, then the pronunciation will be completely different from the original word. Because if you don't double the G, it will look like biger or biger, so it doesn't make any sense. Then if we have an adjective that is more than one syllable, it's a long one, like beautiful. This is a long adjective. It has more than more than one syllable, could be two or even more. يعني when I said two syllables, or I mean two syllables or even more. So what do we use? We use more or less before the word. So beautiful, more beautiful, أكثر جمالا, or less beautiful, أقل جمالا than. And then we have another example like interesting, for example, more interesting or less interesting than. However, if we have an adjective ending in Y, like this one, easy, although it is only يعني, two syllables, and it should follow the rules of this. يعني, if you look at this, the rules, according to the rules, we should say more easy. However, because it ends in Y, I have to change the Y into I, and it will be easier. So do not say more easier, because I see this mistake quite often with many of the students. The word lazy as well, it ends in Y, so I have to change to I and then add ER. So lazier than or easier than, okay? Also, some other adjectives do not follow any rules. They are irregular, like good. Good, جيد, better, أفضل, bad, سيء, worse, أسوأ. Far and farther, and also far and further. Of course, the difference between farther and further is that farther, usually you're talking about the physical distance, يعني أبعد المسافة. But further is more often used like to mean more. Like when I do further research, you need further research, يعني more research. Okay? So let me give you some complex comparisons examples that I collected from previous PowerPoints. Okay, Metha was more excited to buy a solar panel than to travel to Europe. As I said before, be careful. When I use the expression to buy, then the next clause should have the same thing, to and a verb in the infinitive, you see, to buy. Metha was more excited to buy a solar panel than to travel to Europe. The protesters were more concerned, كانوا أكثر قلقا with animal welfare, بخصوص رفاهية الحيوان, than with people's jobs, أكثر مما يخص وظائف الناس. Okay, so as you can see here, again, here we have with, and then with again. And it relates to the word concerned, because we say concerned with, قلق بخصوص. Another example, I am more interested in your actions than in what you say you will do. أنا أكثر اهتماما بأفعالك أكثر من مما تقول أو ستفعل. Okay, these are complex comparisons, so it seems this is going to be the focus in your exam. They will focus on the complex comparisons more than the just forming يعني comparative forms of words or adjectives. There are more people recycling now than there were 10 years ago. You can see here, I'm comparing between the situation now, that's why I'm using the present simple tense here. There are, يوجد العديد من الناس يقومون بإعادة التدوير الآن. Than يعني أكثر من there were 10 years ago. أكثر من ما كان موجود من 10 سنوات. Okay, so here I'm using the past because I'm comparing to the situation in the past. There is more work to do than we have time for. يعني يوجد عمل أكثر مما يوجد وقت لذلك. There is no better way to end the year. لا يوجد وسيلة أفضل من إنهاء العام than by rescuing wild animals in Africa. أكثر من إنقاذ الحيوانات البرية في أفريقيا. An electric car is much more expensive than you think it is. Here, be careful with the use of the word much. It is possible to use much before the comparative. So much more expensive, okay? Not many more expensive, much more expensive, much taller. He is much taller, okay? So it is possible to use much before the word more or before any comparative adjective. So be careful with this structure as well, okay? It means that السيارة الكهربائية أكثر أو أغلى بكثير مما تعتقد أنها. Okay. Now it seems this one might be a little new to you. You probably did not see it before, but I think it's still not that difficult. The first conditional, and we're focusing on the expressions as if and as though, which mean كما لو أو كأن. I included a video before about this rule, but if you watch this video, this is the link. If you watch the video, be careful that you're supposed to know the first type only, where you use the present simple tense, because other types are not included in your assessment planner. If you want to know them, like just in case, it's fine. But this is what you need to know, this example, where we use the present simple tense only. It seems as though nature always suffers because of people's actions. It seems as though. يبدو كما لو. Nature always suffers، إنه الطبيعة دائما تعاني بسبب أفعال الناس. So what do we notice here? We notice that we have as though, and we have a verb, a sense verb, as we say, sense verb, فعل من أفعال الحواس، يعني يبدو, something that you see. Nature always suffers. I'm using the present simple tense here, and this is the structure now. It plus a sense verb. Sense verbs are like it seems, it looks, it sounds, it feels, things like these. And then we use as if or as though. And by the way, as if and as though, they have exactly the same meaning. As if and as though, كما لو أو كأن. The only thing is that as if seems to be used more commonly, and that's it. Plus a complement clause in the present في المضارع. What does it mean if you use it in the present? It means that we think something appears to be true because we have signs or evidence suggesting this. So when I have a sentence like this, for example, let me look at other examples. It looks as though you're not coming. Okay, it seems I have some evidence suggesting that you're not coming. يبدو أنهم غير قادمون. So it means I have some evidence suggesting they are not coming. Maybe usually they are never late for any gatherings. And now that I see that they are late, so this is enough evidence for me supporting the fact they will not come, you see? Another example, wow, look at those dark clouds. It looks, you see, I have a sense verb here. It looks as if it's going to rain. يبدو أنها ستمطر. So from the dark clouds, I'm not sure that it's going to rain. For sure, I'm not sure. But this situation is most probably correct or true. We expect it to be true because I have evidence. I can see that we have dark clouds. So I expect this event to be true. Okay, this is of course compared to when I use as if with a past simple tense, which you will find in the video if you are interested to know about this. But this is the only case that is mentioned in your assessment planner for this year. Looking at all this pollution, it feels as if nobody knows about global warming. يعني لما ننظر على كل هذا التلوث, it feels يبدو أو نشعر كما لو أن لا أحد يعرف عن الاحتباس الحراري. Another topic is going to be the modals or the past modals, and specifically you're supposed to be able to express regrets and preferences with would rather, it's time, with past tense clauses. We are lucky here again that they specified the expressions that they need you to focus on, which is I would rather, I'd rather, the same thing, it's just a short form. It's time, it's high time. Very easy expressions. I'd rather or I would rather يعني أفضل. It's time, it's high time يعني حان الوقت. Usually use them when you are talking about something that should have happened a long time ago. So for example, if you say I'd rather factories didn't throw waste into the sea. Now, what do we have to notice about this one? I'd rather يعني أفضل إنه المصانع لا ترمي القمامة في البحر أو لا تتخلص من القمامة في البحر. طيب, what is the problem here? Not a problem actually, but you have to think like usually when I'm talking about something I'm hoping, which is not true, I usually use the tense in the past. So what is the truth now? Factories don't throw waste, and factories throw waste into the sea. This is the situation. What I want is for them not to do this. So because this situation is not true, which is that they don't throw waste into the sea, I will change the tense to the past. So I'd rather factories didn't throw waste into the sea. I can never say I'd rather factories don't throw waste into the sea. Be very careful. Okay. So what do we have here? We have the subject plus would rather or I'd rather plus the object plus past tense. أفضل إنه المصانع لا تلقي القمامة في البحر. Usually we use this when we want to talk about what we want someone else to do. Someone else here is like the factors. We will have more, of course, examples. Aisha would rather you drove slower. يعني عايشة تفضل إنك تقوم بالقيادة بشكل أبطأ. So the word drove here is used in the past tense. Okay, I cannot say Aisha would rather you drive slower. Why? Because I'd rather is an expression I'm using to express a preference. I want this to happen, but it's not true. So the truth is usually the opposite of your hope right now. You would rather, or Aisha would rather you drove slower, but the truth is that you're driving fast. Okay, so we would like you to drive slower, but in order to say this using would rather, I need to use a verb in the past. This is what we call in English the unreal past. You can see this with expressions like I wish, if only, in the second conditional, like when we say if I were a bird, I would fly. Whenever something is not true in the present, then we have to use the past in order to show that it is not real. It is not real. It is impossible. Okay? Or we're hoping for it to be true. Okay? That's another expression. It's time people did more to protect wildlife. What does it mean؟ يعني حان الوقت إنه الناس يقوموا بفعل شيء لحماية الحياة البرية. Notice here that we're using did in the past. I cannot say it's time people do more to protect wildlife. I can never say this because the situation is not real and you want it to be like this. So what is the situation or the real situation now is that people are not actually doing anything to protect the wildlife and we want them to do. So if you want to express that is not happening right now or it is not true, we will use what we call in English the unreal past in order to show you it is something that is not true, but I'm hoping for it to be true. Okay, it's time people did more to protect wildlife. So another expression would be it's high time. So it's time or it's high time. يعني حان الوقت, or people, I'm trying to say that people are late. They should have done this a long time ago. And I'm complaining about this. It's high time. Past close is used to say it is time to do something that should have been done a long time ago. It's high time companies stopped polluting the oceans. Not stop. I cannot say stop here, okay? I want them to stop, but if I use it's high time, I have to use it with stopped, with a past verb, right? Okay, you can also add another expression which is not mentioned here. You can also say it's about time. It's about time you studied. It's about time you paid attention in the class. Okay, so you can also use this with this group of expressions here. The last one is the past perfect passive. In the beginning of the lesson, we talked about the past perfect. Now we will talk about the passive form, المبني للمجهول. Okay. If I look at this sentence, had the work been completed before the office closed, as I said before, usually we'll have two events here. One of them happened before the others, and that's why we use had plus past participle. But what is new here is that I can see verb to be here, okay? Which means this is passive voice مبني للمجهول. Had the work been completed, طيب who completed the work? We don't know or we don't care. We don't know. We don't want to mention for any reason. Probably we don't know or we don't care. Had the work been completed? هل تم إكمال العمل before the office closed? So here I have to notice that when I talk about completing the work, okay, I'm asking if this happened before the other event, which is that the office closed. So the first event usually will have the auxiliary verb or the helping verb had plus past participle, which is this one. And the second usually, or the more recent one, is usually used in the past simple tense, this one, okay? But you have to be careful as to check if the word that is used here, is it able to do anything? Is the work able to complete itself? If not, then I have to use a verb to be. Okay, so what is the formation? If you're using a question, had plus object, مفعول به, plus been plus past participle. When I see been, I know it is passive, مبني للمجهول. Okay. Let's have another example. The animals had been saved. يعني a sentence like this can appear in the maze test. You have to be careful. If I have the word the animals in the beginning, do you think the animals are able to save themselves? Of course not. Somebody else usually saves the animals. So that's why I have to use verb to be. So the animals had been saved. تم إنقاذ الحيوانات from the fire by the time, يعني before the time the fire engine arrived. Okay? And somehow it might be important for me in this sentence to show that this was done before the fire engine arrived. Maybe to show that the fire engine was late, you see. So two things. The animals are not able to save themselves. That's why I use it in the passive voice tense. مبني المجهول had been, and then the past participle. And the other thing, I'm showing that this event happened before this event. In the affirmative اللي هو الشكل المثبت, we have the object المفعول به plus had plus been plus past participle. You see, normally in other sentences, the sentence usually starts with a subject. بتبدأ بالفاعل. Now in the passive voice tense, we usually start with the object. بنبدأ بالمفعول. Okay? I was hoping for new information, but it had all been said before. كنت أتمنى معلومات جديدة لكن قيلت كلها من قبل. Okay? So what happened here is that the information, of course, cannot say anything. Somebody else will have to say the information, and that's why we're using the passive voice tense. And I'm trying to show you that this is an earlier event, an older event. Okay? It happened before me hoping for this to happen. Okay? Now we move to the functional language. I have to tell you that the functional language is very, very important for many reasons. Number one, it will appear in maze 2 and probably in maze 1, but for sure it will appear in the mazes, okay? The other thing, you will see it somehow used in the reading texts. And somehow it can affect your understanding of some of the questions. More importantly, somehow it will be also used in the writing prompt. So expect one of the bullet points in the writing to be compare something. For example, they may ask you to compare jobs in the past to jobs now, for example, or to talk about the daily routine of one of the jobs, for example, you see? So they will link one of these functional language points to the topics that you're studying in order to create a writing prompt. That's why we need to spend time with these and study them carefully. So what I will do now, I actually used some of the links, which I will share with you, I think in the last slide, in order to go and find some of the expressions that we will use for comparing and contrasting. So I will share some of them with you. And then if you feel like this is not enough, you can simply go to the website and study there. And again, as I said before, once the PowerPoint is released, they will have some slides about these functions. Please read them carefully because you might see the same expressions in the final exam. Okay? So, for example, if I have on the one hand, on the other hand, I have some translation, I translated some of the words here. من ناحية ومن ناحية أخرى. If you're comparing two things. من ناحية أخرى. You might also want to use this when you are writing. If you want to compare two things in writing, you might need some of these expressions. In spite of, despite, على الرغم من. I'm not going to focus on all of them because you will have the PowerPoint anyway. but some of them will include some grammar. I have although, even though, though, على الرغم من, all of these can be used when we talk about comparisons and contrasts. Okay. I also have to tell you something here, which is that when I say comparing and contrasting, many people think we're talking about differences. Actually, no. A comparison is supposed to give similarities. Contrasting is supposed to focus on the differences. So when I say compare and contrast, I'm looking for similarities and differences. Be careful with this. It's possible that they ask you for this in one of the bullet points. So if you have similarities and differences, mention both. If they ask for you, if they ask you to compare and contrast. This is an expression, I don't know, it might be new for you. Conversely, على العكس, okay, you can use it like this. And conversely, the trip wasn't all good. الرحلة ما كانت جيدة. وكمان على العكس ما كانتش سيئة. Conversely, words like nevertheless, على الرغم من ذلك, the verb differ, يختلف. These countries differ in climate. You see how we compare things together? Okay. Also whereas and while. Okay, very good words. Both of them mean the same thing. بينما, a tiger has stripes, whereas a lion does not. I'm comparing two animals here. Okay, here we have an expression that show a similarity. Now, as I told you before, because when we compare, we are also, comparison is usually looking for a similarity. She learns very quickly. Similarly, so does her brother. So similarly, likewise, both of them means بشكل مشابه. In contrast, we go back to the differences. بالتناقض مع. All these expressions are important. Now there is another point, which is expressing regret. التعبير عن الندم. This one might include some complicated grammar rules, okay, especially when it comes to wish, the rule of I wish, if only. I will show you some of them, and there might be another video that may help you if you want to go and look at it. She wished she hadn't hurt his feelings. One thing you need to know about wish, whenever I use the verb wish, I cannot use a present simple tense after that. She wished she hadn't hurt his feelings. Hurt his feelings يعني تتمنى لو ما كانت جرحت مشاعره. In the past. Tell me more, it means like, or tell me all about it means like you feel for this person, like I've been there before, or I had this feeling, so I kind of sympathize with you. I don't believe it. Oh, wow, poor thing. All these expressions might be used in order to show regret or to show that you're sorry for someone. Okay, here I will have more expressions with I wish. I wish I'd, which means I had studied a bit harder. I think if you feel like you're not comfortable with how to use I wish, I think you might need to look at this video here. It's on my YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go there and just watch the video to know how to use expressions with I wish and if only, it will be very good. But just to summarize it for you here, if I say I wish I had studied a bit harder, the truth is I did not study harder. I did not study. Now I regret that. So if the situation is originally in the past, I have to shift it even further in the past. So if it was past simple, I have to shift it and make it past perfect, which means I use had and past participle. Okay, so I did not study hard, but I wish I had studied hard. Okay. You wish you had kept or you'd kept your mouth shut, don't you? يعني تتمنى لو كنت بقيت صامتا. Okay. This means that I did not keep my mouth shut, and now this person is telling me that I wish I had kept my mouth shut. So it's a situation in the past because it's originally in the past. Now I have to change it back or shift it back further in the past to make it to use the past perfect tense. Okay. If only he would take more care of his health. So originally the sentence is like he will not take care of his health, because I'm using if only, which is exactly the same meaning as I wish. If only and I wish, they both mean أتمنى أو يا ليت. Okay. So here I'm changing will to would, and in order to like shift back in the past. If you're talking about a present, for example, I wish I could fly. Don't say I wish I can't fly. It's not correct, because you cannot fly. You're just wishing for this. I wish I could fly. If you're hoping for something in the present, you shift back to the past. If your hope is that to be able to fly now, then you should say I hope, or sorry, I wish I could fly. If only I had behaved, again here, the situation was like I did not behave better in the past, so I have to shift it further back in the past, so it will be past perfect. If only I had behaved, يعني لو بس كنت تصرفت أفضل, she might have given me a chance. Okay. Again, if only the sun would come out. So we'll have more expressions just talking about regret. And I think, inshallah, when you have the PowerPoint, you will have some specific expressions. It's not bad to know more expressions, but it will also help you to stay focused if you look at the PowerPoint from the ministry, inshallah. Now the last one, inshallah, is going to be easy, describing habits, routines, tasks, and jobs. Okay. I think it's easy, but we have to highlight a few things here. One of the expressions is the word hardly. Hardly يعني نادر, شبه مستحيل. So be careful if I use this expression, hardly ever, in the beginning of the sentence, I have to apply inversion. Inversion means that you have to change the sentence, okay, and make it look as if you are going to ask a question. يعني originally the sentence was supposed to be, I hardly go to the beach in summer. I hardly go to the beach in summer. Now that you're starting with this, so you are going to have this auxiliary to make it look like a question. So hardly ever. Do I go to the beach in summer? But when you end it, you don't put a question mark because it's not a question. It is just inversion. Okay? Hardly ever do I go to the supermarket. يعني نادرا ما أذهب للسوبرماركت during the week. Other expressions are idiomatic expressions, some idioms. I go to the beach once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon يعني نادرا جدا. Okay? I'm seldom. Seldom is also another word for rarely or hardly. يعني نادرا. I am seldom snowed under with important tasks at work. Snowed under means يعني غارق في العمل, or they give me a lot of work. Another word is rarely. Rarely يعني نادرا. If somebody asks you how many times a year do you visit your grandparents, and you say I rarely go to the beach in summer, actually it should be I rarely visit my grandparents. Okay. So if I start the same sentence with rarely, so I will do it like this. I will rearrange the sentence to make it look as if it's a question. So I will say, rarely do I go to the beach in summer. Okay. And this is what we call in English inversion. Okay. What are your responsibilities at work? Some of the expressions are very simple, like when you ask about, you're asking about routines or describing routines. So you can ask about the responsibilities at work. And somebody would say, I'm responsible for this and that. Okay, this is part of describing routines or tasks or jobs. This is it. I will now have some practice questions just to apply what we learned in the lesson. First question, will you by 8 a.m. have arrived, or be arrive, or have arriving? As you can see here, because you have by before a certain time in the future, so I'm using the future perfect, so it should be have arrived. While I'm doing the questions, you can simply pause the video in order to see if you can answer or not, and then play it again to check. So will you have arrived by 8 a.m. يعني هل ستكون قد وصلت قبل الساعة 8 صباحا? Another one, you will receiving, or I will have received or have received the bill by the time the item arrived. So which one? I have here a point in the future by the time the item arrives, يعني قبل ما يوصل الطلب. So most probably I'm using again the future perfect tense. You will have received the bill. يعني أكيد هتكون استلمت الوصل قبل ما يوصل الطلب. Okay. Another one, Melissa and Mike will be exhausted. They slept for 24 hours. Okay, I have to think carefully about this one. They will be exhausted. هيكونوا مرهقين تعبانين. So can I say they will have slept؟ يعني هيكونوا أكملوا 24 ساعة نايمين. How come they are exhausted? It's not true. It can't be true. Or they will not have slept. يعني هيكونوا ما نموش لمدة 24 ساعة. That's why they will be exhausted. Okay. You can take my car. You drive carefully. Unless معناها إلا إذا. Okay. Provided that بشرط yet على الرغم من ذلك. So you can take my car provided that you drive carefully. You can think of unless if the first sentence was negated. يعني I can say you cannot take my car. ما تقدرش تاخد سيارتي إلا إذا you drive carefully, unless you drive carefully. But here, because it will not make sense unless I have this in the negative form. So you can take my car provided that. تقدر تاخد سيارتي بشرط إنك تقود بحرص. They offered me the job. I did some further training. So far يعني حتى هذه اللحظة ولا so as to لكي ولا on the condition that يعني بشرط. They offered me the job. ها بشرط إنه يكون في تدريب أكثر on the condition that there are dark clouds. It seems it's going to rain. It seems usually I have this expression as if يبدو كما لو أنها ستمطر because I can see some dark clouds. I have some evidence that suggests it is going to rain. Okay. It's high time the school do something or doing something or did something about students missing exams. So what we said about the expression it's high time means يعني حان الوقت. It's an expression you use in order to show you hope for something to be done, and this thing should have been done a long time ago. No, why are we late? يعني the school should have done this a long time ago. So we usually use the unreal past, which means we need this verb in the past. حان الوقت إنه تقوم المدرسة بفعل شيء بخصوص الطلاب المتغيبين عن الامتحانات. It's high time the school did something, not do something. I would rather my friend stopped or has stopped or stop shouting. The same thing, I would rather or I'd rather يعني أفضل أو أتمنى إنه صديقي يتوقف عن الصراخ. So again, we have to use a verb in the past because it's not real and I'm hoping for it to be real. So my friend stopped shouting. I would rather my friend stopped shouting. The man killed or had been killed before I arrived. Imagine, yani, maybe a man was killed in your house and you have to defend yourself. So you have to show that the event happened before you arrived. In order to show an event happened before the other one, I have to use the past perfect tense and in the passive because this man was killed. He didn't kill himself. He was killed. The man had been killed before I arrived. So this is an example of the past perfect in the passive voice. I like football. My friend prefers basketball. Now we can see that the functional language is also included in the questions, and I expect this also to happen in the maze. I like football. My friend prefers basketball. I can see I have two different things here. I have football and basketball. So what is the word? I need an expression to show differences between things. So whereas I like football, whereas بينما أنا أحب كرة القدم بينما صديقتي تفضل كرة السلة. Whereas I wish earlier. Be careful with this one, please. whenever I use wish, I have to use a past simple tense or a past perfect tense. If the situation is originally if you're talking about the present, then I have to follow this with a past simple. If I'm talking about the past, which is the situation here because I have the word earlier, okay, then I have to move further in the past, then it has to be past perfect. So I wish I had met you earlier. أتمنى أو يا ليتني كنت قابلتك قبل. So earlier is something indicating a past event. If I use I wish, I have to go further in the past, so it will be I had met you. Okay. Next, I regret. أندم. One of the expressions to express regret is regret something. Okay. أندم على شيء. I regret being or not being or to be on time for the meeting. Is it possible to regret being on time for the meeting؟ يعني معقول هندم على قدومي في الموعد؟ Of course I will regret not being on time. أندم على عدم وجودي في الموعد. Okay. So usually regret is used with a verb with ing. Okay. I regret doing something. Hardly ever. Okay. Hardly ever. When we talk about routines. Hardly ever. نادرا أو شبه مستحيل. It's almost like I don't do this. If I start the sentence with it, like this one, then I should have inversion, which means the sentence should look like as if you're asking a question. So hardly ever do I visit my friends in Dubai. And I don't end with a question mark. I end with a full stop because it's not a question, it is inversion. She is fond of music. Her parents are very interested in classic music. So I can see here I have similar or different things. I have similarly for similarities بشكل مشابه. Conversely for differences على النقيض من ذلك أو على العكس in contrast to the same meaning. So of course similarly يعني بشكل مشابه because they both like music, so we have a similarity here. This is the end of it. This slide includes the links to all the lessons relating to the functional language. I would like you to pay special attention to the expressions related to regret because they include I wish, and yani, I think it might be a little challenging for some of you. But if you're familiar with it, it will be no problem, inshallah. This is it for today. If I have any updates, of course, I will let you know, inshallah. If you like my channel, please subscribe, and you can also join my English IMSAT practice. I usually post daily questions in order to remind you of grammar rules and stuff and prepare those who would like to have the IMSAT test, inshallah. And thank you so much for listening.